Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing wonderful out there this morning and having a great start to your day and a great week out there so far. Thank y'all for tuning in this morning. I just want to say that right off the dot. Things have been really slow. It's really gotten slow out there, which is a good thing. It's given all of us time to kind of do things outdoors, enjoy the summer that we have, which we're right in the middle of. And, it kind of gives me a break, gives me a really long break. I've said this many times. I feel like that I do better when things are just, full steam ahead. It's like when life is just going full speed. It seems like I'm like a well-oiled machine, and that's when I operate the best. But at the same time, it's very important to slow down, rest, and I've certainly got all my rest back up and since covering barrel and all that. So it's been a nice break, but just want to take the time to say thank you for people who continue to tune in. And I know I say this probably to the point of annoyance to some people, but they continue to tune in even if your area isn't getting a drop of anything. Make this part of your routine. Just kind of listen to my voice in the background through some headphones or watch me on TV, like you pull it up on your TV in your living room. Just thank y'all. I just always want to be big on appreciation. So just want to throw that out there to you guys. But here to try to figure out what's going to happen weather-wise for today. And today will be a copy and paste of yesterday, to be honest with you. There's not a whole lot that's different from yesterday. So we're going to break that down. We'll try to figure out certain areas that does have that higher chance to see more widespread rain or storms. The severe weather element of things today is not going to be that big of a deal. And I say that there's some severe weather ongoing right now along the South Dakota-Minnesota border. But in general, as we get into this afternoon, I don't expect widespread severe weather today either. So, I would say flooding is the biggest weather threat for today. So we'll try to figure that one out. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you ever consider joining the channel, now is as good a time as any to definitely do it, as it's very slow. I just want to say thank you to the members who continue to stay committed to being joined in my channel and being members of the channel. I really appreciate y'all very much. And if you've ever thought of a way to support my channel, it's a great way to do so. So thank you for the people who has done it in the past that, couldn't maintain it, which is perfectly fine. Just the fact that you did is amazing. And the people who continue to do it or even considering to do it, it means the world to me. So if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. All right, that's a mouthful. So let's get rocking and rolling. So once again, we got the fronts pulled up, the low pressure, high pressure, and it literally looks the same as yesterday when we talked about this. You see this boundary right here? There's an upper trough right here across the middle of the country. The base of this, there's kind of a leftover boundary, a cold front, if you will. And I really wouldn't call it much of a cold front anymore, just kind of a frontal boundary. And there's pieces of energy that ride along this boundary, and you're going to have just a consistent flow. Flow meaning you're going to have a shot at showers and storms. And that's what we're getting this morning across the Mississippi Delta region, back to Texas, all the way across Mississippi. And this is more so just some light to moderate rain, not much storm activity with this. You also, at the northern edge of this boundary, kind of between two different boundaries to the north and south, you got a lot of rain that you're dealing with this morning. It's a very rainy Tuesday morning for you folks in Vermont, New Hampshire, into Maine and surrounding states. You got pieces of energy riding this boundary up here. And we're waking up to some rain in like the Green Bay area. Might get some rain here in a couple hours in Milwaukee. And we got this, I would say, more intense area of energy surging south through areas in Minnesota. And some of these storms are actually at severe limits, as we do have some severe thunderstorm warnings right at this moment this morning. So out west, it's quiet. I don't think we're going to get as widespread activity today as what we've seen over the last several days. But it will continue to most likely be very dry across the northern Rockies. We need the rain up here. We really do. So we'll speak on that towards the end of the video. We'll give you an update on the tropics and rain potential to come over the next 7 days. So we'll do that during the slower times. Almost lost my voice. We'll try to just kind of keep things, 4 to 7 days ahead. And if time permits, we'll continue to do that at the very end of the video until there's something much more significant to talk about out there in the weather world. So that's what's going on right now. Watches, warnings, and advisories. I would say really the only deal out here is heat. Excessive heat warnings in Montana, red flag warnings in these more pink colors here. Heat advisories in the orange. This does include several counties in western North Dakota. Just got heat advisories in the orange. If you live in these areas, it's going to be very hot. It's been very hot summer so far. Excessive heat warnings down here in California. Heat advisories in California also. But, you know, out here in eastern Montana, for example, it's going to get into the low 100s a day. It's been a very hot summer. Karen's been giving us frequent updates of what's going on up here in Montana. So you guys need a rain. You guys need a big rainstorm. I'm starting to worry that you guys aren't going to get it until late summer, early fall with the changing of seasons, but let's hope that's not the case. Of course, you're not near the Gulf, you know, Gulf of Mexico or Atlantic, so it's not like you can get a tropical system to kind of knock you out of drought like Texas or Louisiana or anybody can. So it's a little bit different of a story up here, obviously, being in the Northern Rockies, but nothing really going on in the eastern U.S. and Florida. No heat advisories today. The excessive rainfall outlook. Green area, just a 5% risk of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance. But the yellow area is a 15% risk or more of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles in a given location. So once again, south central Texas, the entire Texas coastline, I would say, runs a flooding risk today. A lot of Louisiana into, I would say, western, southwestern Mississippi, like Jackson. And then into the Carolinas and Virginia, Charlotte, Raleigh, Richmond, Norfolk. You guys, a slight risk. So some of these storms, especially if they go over the same areas, you get multiple storms. You can get 1 to as much as 3 inches of rain today in some of these yellow areas. I mean, and even in the green areas, you can get a lot of rain. The Storm Prediction Center, guys, I mean, this might change, but there's not even a marginal risk. This is the first time in, I think, several weeks. I don't even remember the last time we didn't even at least have a marginal risk. Maybe somebody in the comments does, but a lot of the severe weather gurus out there in the weather community, you know, has this stuff memorized. I have a lot of the winter weather events memorized and tropics memorized, but it's funny, if you follow the weather community, guys, and just a little side story, you know, I'm good for a video. I would say your average person in the weather community is really biased towards one genre of weather. Severe weather, tropics, or winter weather. There's not many people that kind of put all their energy into all three, kind of like what I do. I mean, admittedly, I favor winter weather and the tropics way over talking about severe weather. I enjoy chasing severe weather. But yeah, that little tidbit out there for the weather community. But just a general risk of thunderstorms today, which includes all of the eastern U.S. So, speaking of the southeast first, and we'll kind of zoom into a couple individual areas like we always do here. And this morning, waking up to that rain, HRRR model verifying pretty decently. We get into about midday today, 1-2 p.m. A lot of rain riding in northern, kind of the mid-south area, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama. You guys are getting some rain, maybe Memphis over to Florence, Huntsville, Alabama. Some of this will ooze into the Cumberland Plateau, you know, western Tennessee. And then as we get into the afternoon, guys, it's more just pop-up activity. Could be more of a lull action here in like southeast Georgia, low country of South Carolina. Might not get as much rain today, but you're getting a lot of shower and storm activity kind of pushing in from the southeast to the northwest with a ridge of high pressure out here in the Atlantic. So this is allowing for the flow to kind of go like that over the peninsula of Florida. And you guys in like Tampa Bay up to the Big Bend area could get some storms. We see all the storm activity in the deep south late this evening, and then we'll have to see what the energy does overnight. But let's just go on and zoom into a couple of these areas. And here it is. You know, we continue to move here in time. This is around 1 p.m. There's those shower activity in the southern counties of Tennessee, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, even in Arkansas. Look at this pop-up activity down here near Mobile, Hattiesburg, Gulfport, Birmingham even. And then we start to get to about 5-6 p.m. A little bit more widespread activity. Shreveport down to Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lake Charles. I mean, I can name just about any town, bigger town and city here in the deep south. Everybody pretty much has a shot. Atlanta could get some storms. I think once you get into Georgia, maybe not as widespread today. Mississippi, Alabama, especially Louisiana and Texas, much more widespread. Could get a big plume of storms that kind of comes in late this evening that kind of surges in throughout areas of the Gulf states. But in general, some people will get rain, some people won't. You guys know the deal with that. But if we look into Florida and look at that complex of storms that you definitely want to be mindful of here. Let's just look at South Florida here. I'll have to back this up a little bit. Let's look at this run right here. We'll get it together here. I just want to kind of avoid pulling up so many tabs this morning. I don't think that's necessary. Sometimes don't want to kill my computer. This thing has been a champ. But 1 to 2 p.m., we already got some storms in southwest Florida. But, watch out Fort Myers up to Tampa Bay. Even some storms along the Space Coast, very possible. But I want to watch for more of an organized complex of storms later this evening for like Tampa Bay, Clearwater, these areas, and then it kind of loses some steam. Rainfall in this area. In fact, we'll kind of do that at the end. Let's go on up to North Carolina. North Carolina and surrounding regions, including sections of Georgia. Let's back this up a little bit. The HRRR model says the activity won't be very widespread today, especially in South Carolina. But look at these big storms. I mean, pretty early on, about 3 p.m., we got some big storms in eastern North Carolina, some pop-ups around Charlotte, some storms around Danville, Richmond. Storms in the western Carolinas, especially the mountains of North Carolina, could cause some flooding, and some bigger storms up here in southern Virginia. And we'll kind of zoom into this area a little bit more in the northeast timestamp. But you notice some people look to not get any rain. Some people will. And guys, these short range models on days like this are not going to be spot on. They can kind of highlight more highlighted areas that it likes better for more rain. But in general, these models are going to get it wrong every day somewhere. So you guys know that. But we're going to switch to rainfall. If we go back to the Deep South, and I should have just included this in the Deep South radar, but this is rainfall. You notice how splotchy it is? It does favor northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, southeastern Arkansas. Whether a half inch to maybe as much as 1.5 inches of rain. It loves southwestern Louisiana and areas of Louisiana in general. Like Lake Charles points south along the Louisiana coastline, western Louisiana coastline. You guys could get 1 to 3 inches of rain, but very splotchy everywhere else. I mean, it really is. So, we head on down to our friends here in Florida, and it really highlights that area of storms I just mentioned. You see how it kind of cruises across the western counties of the peninsula of Florida. It likes the idea of a few inches of rain in this area today. Very tropical air mass, which we always expect in Florida. Today will be absolutely no different. So, North Carolina, South Carolina, it likes this area in the northern counties of North Carolina and southeastern counties of Virginia the most, which does include, I would say almost down to Fayetteville, Charlotte, all the way to Raleigh, Elizabeth City, Danville, over to Norfolk, Virginia Beach, into the Tidewater. This is where it favors the most rain today, but you're going to have splotches in South Carolina, Georgia, and the mountains of North Carolina that are also going to get a lot of rain potentially for certain areas. This morning, dealing with a lot of rain this morning in the northeast. I think that this will calm down, but we're going to be left over with pop-up showers and storms really anywhere in the interior northeast, even the I-95 corridor. I would say if there's a more interesting area of weather today that we need to watch out for, it's down here in the mid-Atlantic, Virginia, Maryland, Tidewater, Delmarva, even into West Virginia, even some storms into like southern eastern Ohio that could drift into PA. And we're definitely going to get some storm action here in Ontario and Quebec, so watch out for that in this region as some energy is moving out of lower Michigan. And then we start to get into tonight, and we're going to have some storms rumbling over Lake Huron into Ontario and then Quebec for tomorrow morning. So a closer look here at the mid-Atlantic, and does include southern New England and other areas too. Widespread storms will be ongoing. It'll be a stormy day in Virginia, I think, today. In Maryland, this is around 6, 7, 8 p.m. Look at these storms in the Tidewater, storms in central VA, northern VA, Maryland, storms here in northern West Virginia, western PA, eastern Ohio. This will continue to surge through, getting a taste of that southwesterly flow from that trough in the central U.S. And then tonight, if you love a rainy night, you should get one here in Delaware. It's a good song. In Maryland. So definitely some rain falling tonight in this area, most likely. And then we wake up tomorrow morning with just some damp conditions and maybe some showers and thunder showers out here. So a rainfall between now and the next 24 hours. It likes, I could see areas in northern Maryland getting more rain than this. I could see areas up here in western PA getting more rain than this, but this is what the National Weather Service forecast is trying to say. A lot of rain just off the coastline of southern New England, Long Island, southeast Mass. The most rain is going to fall in Virginia, Tidewater. So, and some rain is possible a little bit further up north, and this is more so what's falling right now. So, South central U.S. southern plains. We're dealing with the showers and storms right now. It'll be no different throughout the rest of the day. Pop-up activity, and that's why I'm showing a broad look at this, is possible as far north as like southern Missouri, Arkansas. Some pop-up downpours, very possible. Some storms. But I think most of the action will be in Texas today. And we're going to actually just go on and zoom in to Texas. Look at all this widespread activity. Now, I think this will be mainly for southern, southeastern, eastern Texas. This is around 2 p.m. Central Time. Tons of tropical downpours from Corpus Christi up to Houston, everybody in between, and, to the east and west. Definitely a lot of action in this area today. Could get some storms as far north and west as like Austin, San Antonio, maybe even back to San Angelo. But I do think there'll be a sharp cutoff here in central Texas where some people will get a lot, some people will get hardly nothing. But this will continue to dance around along the Texas coastline. And, once it might chill out for a bit, but then you get into the wee hours of the morning or almost at daybreak tomorrow, and you're waking up once again to a lot of shower and storm activity along that Texas coastline. So a lot of action. If you look at rainfall between now and the next 24 hours, it's saying the entire Texas coastline is going to get anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain. It really likes from Corpus Christi over to Houston and Galveston. But it does show some heavier pockets of rain several hours inland too in these areas right here. So I definitely expect a rainy day, a stormy day across areas of southern and southeastern Texas into Louisiana. North central U.S. dealing with its own little bit of energy. We get into about midday, early afternoon, some showers ongoing in here in the UP and Michigan. A little bit of shower activity moving into northern lower Michigan. Some pop-ups are possible in like central Wisconsin. A little bit of shower activity surging through like the Rochester area, Minnesota. And then we start to get into this evening. Could have more of an organized area of storms that gets going between Milwaukee down to Chicago. You want to watch for that. This will be around, come on, let's get it right here, 5 to 8 p.m., I would say. Some pop-up activity possible in Minnesota also. And then this could kind of rumble over Lake Michigan, get into lower Michigan, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, just East Lansing, just thinking of random names. You guys could get some shower and storm activity, even to Detroit later on. And then we're getting into tonight, and we could have an area of heavy rain, some storms moving out of southeastern Minnesota, northeastern Iowa, into southwestern Wisconsin, and then eventually into northern Illinois tonight into tomorrow morning. So you could wake up to some storms in like Chicago for your Wednesday morning. So be prepared for that. Rainfall between now, let's just go through the next 30 hours. Does pick up on that rain in Iowa. Picks up on that rain in lower Michigan. But all in all, no washout up here. So we go into the western U.S. I don't have any good news for the people who need to rain, unfortunately. Karen, I know up here, you guys are probably not going to get any rain here. And, in west central Montana. Hopefully you can get some rain soon. I really do hope so. But it looks like we're going to have a little bit of action down here in Nevada, California, Arizona, and areas of like Utah, southwestern Utah. A little bit of shower activity in Idaho, maybe extreme southwestern Montana if you're lucky. But, you take it into the overnight hours. We might get some decent shower activity into like Las Vegas. And then we get into tomorrow morning, and that's it. So, Oregon, Idaho, Washington, Montana has been quiet for quite some time. It's definitely been a feast or famine type thing up here. But hopefully you guys can get a little bit more of a wet pattern soon. So, temperatures today, my state might be one of the hottest states in the eastern U.S. today. The Northeast, they're nice, 60s and 70s. Mid-Atlantic, warm, typical summer type stuff, 80s, low 90s, Southeast, 80s, low 90s. Some clouds and rain could keep you guys cooler across the southern plains and the Mid-South, 80s and 70s, but still very humid. Definitely a cooler day in the Great Lakes region. The closer you are further north and northeast, I would say the cooler you are, maybe just some rain-cooled 60-degree-like day. Must be nice. The Midwest, 80s, very typical summer type stuff. Now out here, it's hot. It needs to cool down. Montana getting into the 90s and low 100s. The high plains, pretty warm. It's actually warmer the further north you get in this setup because of this ridge. Hot across the western U.S., the southwestern U.S., well into the 100s, into the valley. My buddy that I work with is from California, around the Sacramento area. And we work out just about every morning together. And he's going to revisit his family out here in California. I was like, Bubba, man, you better get ready there. They got a nice little heat wave on going. He's like, oh, I know all about it. So he says that dry heat makes it very hard for you to take in a breath of air. So definitely just continue to be, aware of this heat. I mean, I don't know how you're not aware of it, but take the precautions needed, guys. It continues to be very hot. So this wet pattern will continue, guys, across the deep south and the southeast, especially the Carolinas. This is between now and the next week. Several inches of rain is possible. The deep south, anywhere from an inch to 3 or 4 inches of rain. The western sections of the peninsula of Florida look to be more favored than the eastern sections with this flow. And, then you get into the south central U.S., and it looks like more rain will fall here in southeastern. Somebody's messing with the doorbell. So more rain will fall here in southeastern Texas, I think, than anywhere. And I think a lot of this will fall over the next 24 to 48 hours. So several inches of rain along the Texas coastline, likely a few inches of rain is possible in southeastern Texas. But the middle of the country looks pretty dry over the next week. I mean, it's going to get dry fast, very, very fast. And I need to remember to pull up the drought monitor more. But, our friends out here in the Rockies that really need the rain just are not getting it. We really need the rain in the northern Rockies. But, for example, this is Montana that's getting very dry between now and the next 7 days. Pretty much between now and the end of July. As this takes us to the morning of the 30th. Got one more day after that. But it looks very dry. So, I'm going to pull up the drought monitor kind of on the fly here. Y'all bear with me. And I mean, yeah, Karen, you're spot on. I mean, it is very, and this was updated. This was updated about 5 to 7 days ago. But, you look at Montana over here, and if you're hearing the kids in the background, guys, you know how it is. My wife watches the neighbor's kid every single day during the week, just about, and he's just a kid. He has no low volume. He is very loud, but it's just kids being kids. But just a closer look at Montana, for example, and sure enough, Helena, I'm always scared to try to pronounce that. It seems like such an easy name to pronounce. I think it's Helena. Montana is where Karen lives, and yes, I mean, it looks pretty dry. It looks very, very dry just to your west, extreme drought conditions. But I think that when this updates here in a couple of days, this will look even worse. So very dry. If anybody wants to know what the drought monitor looks like at their location, guys, it's pretty easy. Just literally get in Google and type in U.S. drought monitor. This isn't anything that I pay for or anything like that. Trust me, it's not. But it continues to be very dry across the southeast. But guys, we are definitely putting a dent into this. I know that this is about 5 or 6 days old, and we've gotten several inches of rain in a lot of these areas since. So I would argue against us still being in an extreme drought in the PD of South Carolina. But anyways, a broad look at everything. We got so much rain in areas of Texas and Arkansas and the Midwest that, I mean, we could be dry for a pretty long time and be okay. But yeah, so that's an update on rain and the drought situation. The tropics, of course, it remains quiet. Tropical cyclone activity not expected during the next 7 days. There's going to begin. I'm going to tell you this right off the dot. Your second side story. There's going to begin to be some chatter out there about how this hurricane season is going to be a dud. I'm already starting to see a little chatter about it, saying, if this is going to compare to some of the more historic hyperactive seasons, then you're going to need an extremely active August and September and October. And who's to say that's not going to happen? But I also could see us getting 10 days into August and nothing. I really could. But I still think, I'm going to continue to say this, that we're going to flip like a light switch. So it continues to be quiet out there. But of course, the longer we prevent, well, it's not like we're preventing, but the longer we can go without any tropical activity, the better, of course. But like I've mentioned this a few videos back. For example, October has been a pretty quiet month lately. We haven't had October be real active in about a few years. I think since like 2020. 2021, what was it? Ian made landfall the last couple of days of September. But after that, hurricane season was basically over. And then, so it's been quiet in October, so we can't forget about that month. But in general, it's quiet, guys. And you look at the sun coming up on the Atlantic. If you're wondering what that is, that is, like I said, the sun coming up on the Atlantic. And I'm going to freeze it right here. Okay, so sun coming up on the U.S. It's pretty much came up on the entire Atlantic. You see this area in tan right here? Kind of right into here. Kind of looks like a tannish, brownish color. That is Saharan dust coming off North Africa. So this, mixed in with the fact that you just flat out got a sinking air phase, MJO phase, over this area, this is drying out all these tropical waves. Let's go on and move this back. This is drying out all these little tropical waves in this area. Like right here, right here. This is going to basically eat them alive, eat up all the moisture associated with these tropical waves. And this dust, there's a lot of dust. There's even dust right over here. There's a plume of dust, I believe, like getting into Florida now. So a lot of this is surging all the way into this area. So this is pretty typical of July. So guys, just because it's quiet now, it happens a lot. You're going to start to hear all the people say, the people from the meteorologists are just hyping this up just to scare people, or for some secret top secret reasons or something like that. It seems like, everything has to be a conspiracy theory for some people these days. And, I'm not going to get into that. Some people just choose to be like that. But not everything is, guys. I believe there's things that go on behind the scenes that are certainly not right, and we'll leave it at that. But not everything is a conspiracy theory, guys. But that is a big plume of dust right there. You can see it pretty clearly. You really can. So that is why it's so quiet out there right now. But if you look at that, we talking about that sinking and rising air phase, right? And I was able to finally. I'm sorry, I can keep hearing my arm do that on my chair. I need to stop messing with it over here. But I've showed you this a few videos back, and it was more of a zoomed out look. This is a little bit closer, but it's still probably kind of blurry to see because the texts are just kind of finicky here. But this was updated yesterday or the day before, so this is newer than the graphic I showed you before. If you notice, this is South America, right? That's Mexico, right in here. This is Northern Africa, and then this is the entire Pacific, right here. Okay, that's the Pacific, that's the Atlantic. Okay, and then we, get into the Indian Ocean over here. So this is kind of the phase we're in right now. You notice this area in like yellowish orange. That is a sinking air phase. This area in green, that is a rising air phase. Sinking air is going to prevent shower and storm development, which you obviously need for tropical systems, right? You need shower and storm development. So that favorable phase is over the Western Pacific right now, over here like near Japan and etc. All right, that phase will work its way this way over the next several days and weeks. But right now, we're being dominated by a sinking air phase. So this promotes that Saharan dust activity and basically just allows it to be there in a way. But, that's July 22nd yesterday. This is July 27th. So this is in the next 4 days. You notice this blob of green rising air begins to shift a little bit. Still got a sinking air phase, though. Okay? Then we get into August 1st. You notice at this point, not as much sinking air over the Atlantic. Kind of just white colors. Just, I guess you would say, a neutral kind of deal. Some rising air beginning to enter the Eastern Pacific, which I think will get active before the Atlantic does, because this is moving west to east. All right, and then it's starting to creep into the Caribbean, which is right here also. Okay, and then we get into August, what is that? August 6th, I believe. You got an all-out rising air phase, MJO phase, now over most of the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific. And you still got it over the Central Pacific too. And it's starting to ooze over what we call the main development region, the tropical Atlantic. And then we get into around the August 10th, 11th. And then that's when I think the stage is done being set. And that's when I think we'll be back to tracking tropical systems. Let's just go on and call it mid-month, mid-August. Look at that rising air, that green over the Atlantic. Here it comes. Things are going to flip. And this continues through the mid-month, through mid to late month, through late month. And then we might get a little bit of a lull sometime, maybe at the end of August. So we got to watch out for that. We'll watch out for all this. But some interesting times ahead. But the stage is in the stages of being set. The table's being set. Hopefully we can prolong it as long as possible. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and y'all have a wonderful day.